Now guys, I'm warning you. Be prepared for these reaction videos, alright? Because the gaming streets is dry. There's no games to play right now. All the good games is coming out in 2026. So sit back, relax, and let's react to some reaction videos, man. Man, shut that up. Who the freak said that? So we got the most disturbing moments in TV history, Volume 2. Now, obviously, in this day and age, like, who watches TV nowadays? All we got is our iPhones, our tablets, our PCs, and I'm saying, like, who got cable nowadays? I don't think anybody got cable, you know? So, most of these clips is probably gonna be, like, old footage that we never probably seen or heard of, so let's get into it.
On June 16th, 1983, undefeated boxer Billy Collins Jr. stepped into the ring at Madison Square Garden for a highly anticipated bout against Puerto Rican fighter Louis Resto. With a flawless record of 14 wins and 0 losses, Collins was widely expected to dominate the fight against Resto, who had been defeated 8 times previously. However, what should have been another step forward in Collins's promising career took a devastating turn, one that would change his life forever. As the fight progressed, Resto was unexpectedly dominating Collins, leaving spectators in disbelief. After a grueling 10 rounds, he was declared the winner by unanimous decision. The punishment Collins endured was evident. Having taken more than 400 punches, his eyes were nearly swollen shut. However, despite the brutality of the match, Billy Collins Sr., who was both his father and trainer, sensed something was off. The extent of the damage his son had sustained didn't seem normal, even considering the volume of punches he had taken. As Resto approached Collins's corner after the match, Collins Sr. grabbed hold of his gloves and immediately realized something was wrong. The padding inside the gloves felt unnaturally thin.
He cheated. So this dude right here, he was basically at an advantage though, because, he added some extra padding, I guess, to his boxing gloves to make the punches more harder on him. That's cheating. You can't do that.
As if some of it had been stripped away. Suspecting foul play, he demanded that Resto's gloves be removed for inspection, igniting what would soon become a major controversy in the boxing world. In the days following the fight, the New York State Boxing Commission launched an investigation into Resto's gloves and confirmed that padding had been deliberately removed. This made his punches far more damaging than they should have been. As a result, Resto's victory over Collins was nullified, and he was suspended indefinitely. His trainer, Panama Lewis, who was believed to be the one responsible for altering the gloves, had his boxing license permanently revoked, effectively banning him from any official role in American boxing for life. Although the cheating by Louis Resto and his coach had been exposed and Collins's loss was officially overturned, the damage had already been done. The brutal beating Collins endured left the 21-year-old with a detached retina, causing significant impairment to his sight and permanent blurry vision. This meant that he would never be able to step into the ring ever again. Struggling to cope with the devastating reality that he could no longer compete in the sport he had dedicated his life to, Collins fell into a deep depression and turned to alcohol. Less than a year after the fight, on March 6, 1984, Collins was driving near his home in Nashville, Tennessee, when he crashed his car at high speed. He passed away before rescue even had a chance to arrive on the scene. Investigators later determined that the crash was intentional. 2 years after Billy Collins'
the crash was intentional, so he basically committed.
Jr.'s death, Louis Resto and his trainer were convicted on multiple charges related to the fight. The court ruled that knowingly removing padding from the gloves constituted an assault, resulting in a 3-year sentence for Resto and a 6-year sentence for Lewis. While it seemed like this would be the final chapter in the scandal, years later, new revelations would expose an even darker truth. In 2007, filmmaker Eric Drath began production on Assault in the Ring, a documentary delving into the infamous Collins versus Resto fight. During the film's investigation, Drath confronted Resto with a transcript from a police interview that had previously gone unnoticed. In that transcript, Resto admitted that Panama Lewis had taken his gloves into the bathroom before the fight to remove the padding. Since this information had never been presented as evidence during his trial, Resto had been able to publicly claim for years that he was unaware of the tampering. However, when confronted with the transcript, he finally admitted that he had known all
Man, he knew what he was doing. Come on, we can't say that.
along. Resto went on to confess that not only had Lewis removed the padding from his gloves, but he had also soaked his hand wraps in plaster before the match.
What?
Once dried, the plaster hardened into a rock-like layer, effectively turning Resto's hand wraps into makeshift brass knuckles for the fight. This not only made Resto's punches significantly more damaging and harder, but also protected his hands from injury, allowing him to keep striking Collins without the risk of hurting himself. As shocking as this revelation was, it wasn't the full extent of the cheating. Resto further disclosed that during the fight, Lewis had given him a water bottle laced with crushed asthma medication. The drug
Bro, it just keeps getting worse. How bad is it gonna get?
expanded his airways, increasing his oxygen intake and significantly boosting his stamina, giving
He basically took steroids, you know what I'm saying?
him yet another unfair advantage over Collins.
Yeah.
This went far beyond simply removing padding. It revealed that Resto and his team knowingly took multiple calculated
Did y'all see that hit?
team knowingly
His head bounced back real quick. I don't know if y'all saw that.
took multiple calculated steps that they understood would put Collins in serious danger, all in the pursuit of victory. Despite Louis Resto's admission of the full extent of the cheating, neither he nor Panama Lewis faced any further legal consequences beyond their initial prison sentences. Lewis passed away in 2020 at the age of 75, while Resto was eventually able to regain his boxing license and continue to work as a trainer.
What? Oh, I was about to say, I paused at the right time because he said, as a trainer. I was about to say, though, why would you want your boxing license back when you're like this old, you know?
However, despite the tragedy and lack of justice, the fight solidified Billy Collins Jr.'s legacy as a remarkably tough and talented boxer. Although he was literally being hit with plaster-hardened wraps and gloves with minimal padding, he refused to back down, staying in the fight and landing many blows. He will always be remembered for the grit and determination he displayed in the ring that night.
So realistically, the Collins dude, he would have won the fight.
Early on the morning of March 20th, 1995, news stations across Japan began broadcasting live coverage of a chaotic scene unfolding in Tokyo's metro system. At first, many assumed the subway was being evacuated due to an emergency, such as a fire. However, authorities soon revealed something far more horrifying. This was not a regular incident, but a coordinated attack using sarin gas, a deadly nerve agent that causes
Wait, did I hear that right?
Coordinated attack using sarin gas.
Sarin gas. Bro, whoever put out that gas to the people, bro, you need to life in prison.
A deadly nerve agent that causes paralysis and asphyxiation. Unbeknownst to the public at the time, Japan was in the midst of its worst terror attack in history, orchestrated by a cult unlike
guys, look at him. Come on. He just looks like he'll do something like this, bro. Come on.
anything the nation had ever seen.
He got the dogs out and everything. Oh! Covering his toenails, man.
Aum Shinrikyo was a Japanese doomsday cult founded in 1987 by its leader, Shoko Asahara. Asahara, who was partially blind, claimed to be the second coming of Christ and also declared himself as the first enlightened one since Buddha. Throughout the 1980s, he became increasingly obsessed with biblical prophecies, believing he was receiving divine revelations about the end of the world.
Who does he think he is? Who do you think you are, sir? Come on.
From God. This led him to establish Aum Shinrikyo, which translates to Religion of the Supreme Truth.
And look at the amount of people that's actually like engaging and believing in this, bro. Like, how are y'all falling for this dude, bro?
At the core of Asahara's teachings was the belief that the United States would launch an attack on Japan, triggering World War III, and ultimately leading to a nuclear apocalypse that would wipe out most of humanity. He believed that only he and his followers were destined to survive the coming catastrophe.
And people actually believe that. Tough.
Asahara's followers took his prophecies to heart, many believing him to be a messiah. Some were so devoted that they gave him thousands of dollars to drink his blood, believing it possessed...
Drink his blood. Hold up, bro.
That they gave him thousands of dollars to drink his blood.
I'm not overreacting right now, bro, but drinking another man's blood. You can't pay me any amount of money to do that.
Believing it possessed mystical powers.
What?
Within just a few years, Asahara amassed thousands of loyal disciples, many of whom fully dedicated their lives to him and his teachings. In 1990, Shoko Asahara attempted to gain legitimate political power in Japan by running 25 of his cult members for various government positions under the banner of Shinrito, or the Truth Party. Although Asahara was confident, the campaign was a complete failure, with his candidates receiving almost no votes. Furious over the defeat, he refused to accept that the public had simply rejected his ideology.
Oh, so that's why he did that gas thing. Alright, so pretty much it was because he didn't get any votes like that. Man, if you don't step up and grow up.
Instead, he became convinced that dark external forces, among them Freemasons and Jews, had sabotaged his party's chances. This radicalized Asahara against the Japanese government and public, making him believe that political means were no longer an option. Determined to take power by force, he set a plan in motion to acquire land where his cult would establish secret compounds to develop biological and chemical weapons, including sarin gas. This marked Aum Shinrikyo's transition from a fringe religious movement to an underground extremist group. At the time, the cult was still relatively unknown in Japan, but within just a few years, its name would become one of the most feared in the nation.
Yeah, y'all gonna feel us. That's pretty much what he's saying.
At the height of the morning rush hour on March 20th, 1995, 5 Aum Shinrikyo members boarded separate subway lines bound for central Tokyo, each carrying plastic bags filled with liquid sarin. Nearly simultaneously, they dropped the sarin packets onto the floor and punctured them with sharpened umbrella tips before fleeing the station to meet with accomplices waiting outside as getaway drivers.
I ain't gonna lie, if I'm at a train station, if I see somebody running, I'm running with you, alright?
Due to sarin's highly volatile nature, the liquid quickly evaporated into a deadly vapor, spreading rapidly through the subway system. Within moments, chaos erupted as passengers collapsed, struggling to breathe. The attack ultimately killed 14 people and injured over 1,000. Following the attack, police immediately focused their investigation on Aum Shinrikyo. Former members had previously warned authorities about the cult's interest in chemical and biological weapons, but no official action had been taken until the Tokyo subway incident. Over the next week, police raided the cult's compound at the foot of Mount Fuji, uncovering a shocking arsenal. They found explosives, chemical weapons, and even a Russian military helicopter. Most disturbingly, they discovered biological agents such as anthrax and even Ebola cultures.
How did they get access to all of these chemicals and stuff? How? Like, what did y'all even do to get that? Like, what?
Raising fears of the devastation the cult could have unleashed on the masses. The potential devastation was staggering as investigators uncovered raw materials capable of producing enough sarin gas to kill 4 million people.
4 million
cult members were arrested, with many confessing to both the subway attack and the group's broader objectives. During the investigation, police also confirmed that Aum Shinrikyo was responsible for another sarin gas attack a year earlier, in 1994, in the city of Matsumoto. While the suspicions had long
8 people were killed and more than 500 were harmed by it. Wow, okay.
Surrounded the cult.
That's sad,
was
bro.
The first time law enforcement officially linked them to the earlier attack. Shoko Asahara wasn't apprehended until May 16, 1995, when police found him hiding in a secret compartment within one of the cult's compounds. Although he never admitted to leading Aum Shinrikyo or orchestrating the attacks, by then, the overwhelming evidence, along with confessions from dozens of his followers, left no doubt about his role. Investigators uncovered his grand plan to carry out further attacks to destabilize Japan and overthrow the government, with the ultimate goal of declaring himself Emperor of Japan. Asahara was formally charged as the mastermind behind the Tokyo subway attack and the Matsumoto attack, as well as numerous other murders connected to his cult over the years. Following a lengthy trial, he was sentenced to death in February 2004. More than a decade later, on July 6, 2018, he was executed by hanging alongside several high-ranking Aum Shinrikyo members. To this day, the 1995 Tokyo sarin attack remains remains the deadliest domestic attack in Japan's history. However, what many find even more unsettling than the attack itself are the implications behind it. The fact that a privately funded cult with only a few thousand members was able to develop such a sophisticated chemical
How did they do this? How?
weapons lab in secrecy shocked both authorities and the public. Aum Shinrikyo stands as a chilling testament to how even a relatively small group, driven by a shared extremist vision and unbound by the law, can grow into an existential threat.
At least they caught him, alright? Because if they did not catch him, he could have done way more damage to Japan in the future.
At 2:20 p.m. on August 28, 2003, pizza delivery man Brian Wells walked into a PNC bank near his hometown of Erie, Pennsylvania, carrying a shotgun modified to look like a walking cane. Shortly,
Ooh, he's different. Ooh, how do you do that? Can we go back real quick? Hold up.
Pennsylvania, carrying a
How? I ain't gonna lie, that would have got me too. Like, that looks like an ordinary cane to me.
shotgun modified to look like a walking cane. Shortly after entering, Wells handed the teller a note demanding $250,000.
Who do you think you are?
That he had a live collar bomb strapped around his neck and was armed with a shotgun.
Dog.
The teller, however, explained that the vault could not be accessed at that time and could only give him just under $9,000 from the register. Wells exited the bank with the money and got into his vehicle. By this point, police had already been alerted by bank employees and customers who had called 911 as soon as he left. A short time later, officers located and arrested him in the parking lot of a nearby store called Eyeglass World. As he was taken into custody, Wells made a shocking claim. He said that 3 unidentified black men had forcibly strapped the bomb around his neck.
Bro, look at this dude, bro. I'm tired of this. No, I'm tired of this. I'm tired. I'm realize how we go straight to the black people when we had nothing to do with this. This is all you, my guy. Don't blame it on us. Don't blame it on the black people. This is all you.
Given him the shotgun and threatened to kill him
Get
unless
the
he
freak
committed
outta
the
here.
robbery and completed a series of other tasks.
No.
Upon hearing this, officers immediately backed away and began evacuating the area while waiting for the bomb squad to arrive. Multiple local news stations were now on the scene, broadcasting the tense standoff live. Footage showed Wells sitting on the pavement, surrounded by armed officers keeping their distance. However, before the bomb squad could arrive, the device around his neck started beeping.
Oh gosh. Wait, did he actually blow up? If he actually blew up and like his limbs are everywhere, no, let me not say anything because I might get canceled.
Less than an hour after Brian Wells exited the bank, the collar bomb around his neck detonated, killing him almost instantly. Just minutes after Wells died, the bomb squad arrived and cleared the area so police could begin their investigation. Inside Wells's car, they discovered a series of highly detailed
they always got them psycho notes in they stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
and bizarre notes. The instructions outlined a set of precise steps for Wells to follow. First, he was to rob the bank, then embark on a scavenger hunt across multiple locations to retrieve keys that, according to the notes,
That's the middle collar that held the bomb Brian's. Wow.
would deactivate the device when inserted into specific keyholes. Hoping to gain further insight, police proceeded to the next location outlined in Wells' instructions to gather more clues. However, when officers reached the following destination, there were no additional clues or instructions to be found. This raised 2 unsettling possibilities. Either the individuals behind the plan realized Wells had been apprehended and rushed to remove any remaining evidence, or more disturbingly, perhaps he was never meant to make it that far in the first place. With the notes leading to a dead end, investigators shifted their focus to Brian Wells's personal life, hoping to uncover any connections that could shed light on who had orchestrated this elaborate scheme. The first major breakthrough in the case came on September 20th, when a man named William Rothstein made a shocking call to the police. Rothstein reported that he had the body of a man named James Roden hidden in a freezer inside his home.
What?
He insisted, however, that he had not committed the murder, but was instead helping his ex-girlfriend, Marjorie Deal Armstrong, dispose of the body. At the time of the murder, Deal Armstrong was in a relationship with Roden, and according to Rothstein, had killed him over money.
Bruh.
Both were arrested, but when investigators searched Rothstein's home, they would find a Side note he had written immediately after calling the police. Though it's unclear if he had actually intended to take his life, the contents of the note raised eyebrows. The very first line read, "This has nothing to do with the Wells case." Despite this claim, Rothstein continued to deny any involvement in the case until his death in July 2004. Less than a year after Rothstein's death, Diehl Armstrong, now serving time for Roden's murder, revealed that she had knowledge of the Brian Wells case. She offered to disclose everything she knew to the FBI in exchange for a transfer to a lower security prison. Through a series of interviews, investigators were able to piece together a more coherent version of events. Diehl Armstrong implicated herself, Rothstein, and 2 additional co-conspirators, Ken Barnes, a local drug dealer, and Floyd Stockton. She portrayed Rothstein as the mastermind behind the plot, with the others assisting in planning the heist and assembling the collar bomb, which was allegedly constructed by Rothstein. Investigators discovered that the robbery was orchestrated to secure $250,000, which was
Y'all thought y'all was about to get the bag that easily? Heck nah.
intended to pay Barnes in exchange for murdering her father so she could inherit a large sum of money. As a result of these revelations, charges were filed against Diehl Armstrong, Barnes, and Stockton. Stockton, however, later received immunity in exchange for testifying against Diehl Armstrong. Despite her claims that Rothstein was the mastermind, Stockton pointed the finger at Diehl Armstrong herself, and investigators ultimately concluded that she was the true orchestrator of the scheme.
So it was her.
As investigators delved deeper, they uncovered yet another disturbing twist: the possibility that Brian Wells was not just a victim, but a participant in the plot. While the crime was staged to make it appear as though he had been forced into the robbery, both Barnes and Stockton alleged that Wells had been involved from the beginning. According to Barnes, Wells willingly took part in the plan, but was unaware that the bomb strapped around his neck was real. Further investigation revealed that Wells and Diehl Armstrong
this dude looks insane, bro. He looks crazy as crap. Dang.
Mutual connections, adding credibility to the theory that he was involved. Many believe that Diehl Armstrong tricked Wells into wearing the collar bomb, making him think it was fake, only to secure a live explosive that would detonate and thus eliminate him as a potential witness. For her role in the 2003 heist, Marjorie Diehl Armstrong was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, passing away in 2017. Ken Barnes received a 22-year sentence, but also died behind bars in 2019. While much of the case has been pieced together over the years, lingering questions remain. With every key figure in the plot now deceased, the full truth may never be uncovered.
I think we all learned a valuable lesson, especially on that last one, all right? Make sure that you guys have a good friend group around yourselves, you know, make sure that you guys have good company, because stuff like this can happen, all right? We don't want to have stuff like this happening anymore. But yeah, guys, that was the most disturbing moments on TV history. Comment down below, which one do you think was the worst, all right? For me, I ain't gonna lie, I think the Japan one was kind of crazy though, because how are you gonna proclaim that you're a god, but you're a sinner? Like, you and, like, we're all sinners. Like, how you gonna proclaim? Like, there's no way. And people really fell for that. Like, what? But yeah, that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think. Terminate that like button, subscribe to join the EJ Nation, and I'll see you guys in the next video.